The opioid epidemic. During 2016, there were more than 63,600 overdose deaths in the United States, including 42,249 that involved an opioid. That's an average of 116 opioid overdose deaths each day. This is more than any previous year on record, and in 2017, HHS, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, declared a public health emergency to combat the crisis. What are opioids? Opioids are drugs used to treat pain derived from the opium plant. These substances are highly addictive to any person who takes the drug for a prolonged period of time. These drugs are used both medicinally and abusively to get high. Opioids exist on the drug market in a few forms, as prescription pharmaceuticals, such as morphine, codeine, and methadone, and illicit street drugs, like heroin or opium. These drugs have been used for thousands of years for treating medical disorders because of its ability to reduce both physical and emotional pain. While opioids are prescribed to relieve acute pain, prolonged use can lead to opioid addiction and abuse. Opioid addiction is the leading cause of the drug overdose in the United States, with an estimated 20,101 deaths due to prescription painkillers and 12,990 deaths due to heroin use in 2015. Opioid addiction is a disease that has destroyed millions of lives and families. Many people who are in the grips of opioid addiction become addicted unintentionally. No one says they want to grow up as a drug dealer. For some, they begin using the drugs with a legitimate prescription as part of a treatment to an accident or surgery that would have caused them pain. By the time they no longer need the drugs for their pain, however, opioids have taken hold of their brain and cause a physical dependence. Others are influenced by peers or even television. Some are just curious and some are in search to fill an internal void. However, regardless of the cause, this narcotic grips users all the same. In 1917, the U.S. Congress concluded that all drugs derived from the opium were addictive, and it passed a law making opioids illegal except for medical uses. However, drugs as potent as opioids do not take long to establish addiction. Opioids are highly addictive. When an abuser takes an opioid, the drug enters the brain through the bloodstream, creating a flood of artificial endorphins and dopamine. These are the neurotransmitters responsible for feelings of reward, pleasure, and satisfaction. This creates a rush of happiness and euphoria. Users describe it as a spasm of warmth and ecstasy, and the only way a person can experience it again is by using the drug again. After repeated use, however, the brain will stop creating dopamine and endorphins, limiting a person's ability to experience these feelings again to only when they use the opioids. Because of the strong and desirable feeling that flood the brain, and because they cannot feel pleasure naturally any longer, it is easy to crave an opioid high. People choose to abuse opioids in order to lessen their pain and continue experiencing their euphoric feelings on demand. Opioid addiction not only changes the brain's structure, but it also changes how it functions and works. The addictive process moves in, undoes or weakens what the brain knew before, and then teaches it something else entirely new. Because the constant use has become the user's neurochemical homeostasis, their bodies go into shock and enters withdrawal in as little as 6 hours of last having the drug. Physical withdrawal from opioids such as heroin lasts a minimum of 72 hours. However, some opioids, like methadone for example, last 3 to 6 weeks. Those in addiction find withdrawal unbearable, and most can't make it past the 3-day marker without being in a facility to detox. Some symptoms include the following: a runny nose, dehydration, excessive secretion of tears, restlessness, insomnia, uncontrollable yawning, excessive sweating, muscle aches and spasms, aggression, mood swings, inability to concentrate. To make matters worse, this addiction is not over after detoxing. Users have to relearn how to live sober, often in treatment or intensive outpatient, and have to learn how to apply the skills in real life experiences. And by this point, they have often already burned their bridges for outside support such as friends and family, from things they did when they were in active addiction. However, there are outside resources like Narcotics Anonymous that offer outside support for those struggling with this internal battle. Many are not so lucky. This turns into an ugly cycle of using and withdrawing, a cycle unfortunately many never get to break. The opioids hijack users' brains and they often lose their families, self-esteem, pride, homes, and eventually their lives. Taking opioids isn't a choice between drugs and sobriety. It's a choice between life and death.